maybe it's me, right? Maybe I'm in some sort of other dimension, but from what I know, right, unemployment has been in the millions every single week. People are still afraid, deathly afraid to go outside. And if you're outside and not wearing a mask, it is literally the end of the world for some people. But for whatever reason, the stock market is still kind of ratcheting higher, okay? We are in a recession. It was very obvious before, but now technically we are in a recession and no one is saying anything. Where am I? In this video, let's talk about how much of people's income actually comes from the government. It's actually a pretty high number. I also want to talk about that we are in a recession, but for whatever reason, mainstream media just doesn't seem to know it. I don't know. They don't want to talk about it. That's very dangerous, and I'm going to get into that. I also want to talk about our savings account. They're telling you save, 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 but they are purposely eroding your purchasing power, and they're telling you about it, all right? So stick around for all that and more. It's Crystal with the Cash Compass. All right, welcome back. I am here to teach you all the things that you should have learned in school about money, but for whatever reason, they forgot to mention it. Please be sure to subscribe because we talk about everything from personal finance to investing to the economy. Let's get into it. You guys, please get active in these comments because I really want to talk about this. A lot of the reasons why people are not educated is because people don't talk about it, right? They say political things are too racy, it's too touchy, you know, the religion is too touchy. Like, I mean, nothing is too touchy, especially on this channel. Wait. That might come off wrong. This is an open channel. I want us to discuss things, even if it's an unpopular opinion. Please be vocal because I really want to understand what's going on because I feel like I'm in some sort of weird dimension and no one seems to be on the same page as me. But anyway, let's get into what I want to talk about. So as I've described in this video up here, GDP is how we measure our growth, right? And when we have 2 consecutive quarters of GDP, we are technically in a recession, okay? So we passed that in June, so we technically have been in a recession since January of this year. So 2020 has just been the ghetto. And you would think this would be very important news, right? But I have not seen any mainstream media outlet really talking about this in depth. I mean, they will go on for days and days about the protests and the violence, completely missing the underlying messages, right? Just violence, or division. Hey, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. I mean, everything on mainstream media is designed to create division between us, and they can just kind of slip all these other things through the cracks, okay? But I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about that, right? Because on one hand, if you tell people we're in a recession, that might further increase and strengthen the recession, right? Because then people are going to freak out. They're going to be scared. They're going to, obviously, their spending patterns are going to change. And because 70% of our GDP comes from people just spending, that could definitely worsen the recession, right? So do you think that it's intentional and actually a good thing that people don't know, the masses don't know, and then they're just kind of like going through life blindly? Or do you think that we should tell people these type of things so they can actually prepare themselves instead of just kind of being left with the bag at the end of the day? I generally want to know because I do understand both sides of the argument, but I am more along the belief of they should be saying this, right? Or if you're deciding not to talk about certain financial things, they don't talk about anything, right? They'll tell you, oh, the stock market, new high, like, look what's going on over here. Oh, we had some job increases. A lot of the positives, but where are the negatives, okay? How are we going to keep balanced? They intentionally leave people in the dark. And of course, you should be doing your own research, but let's get real. A lot of people don't, and it's really unfortunate. Another thing that really pisses me off is that these politicians get on TV and act like they care so much about you. People from the Federal Reserve will come on there and say, yes, the average American, da-da-da-da-da. All right. We've learned to just save your money, right? Save, it's good. You should have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses or whatever calculations, right? There's plenty of calculations telling you how much money you should have saved in your bank account, right? The Federal Reserve and the government, they're telling people, yeah, we want people to save more money, da-da-da. But meanwhile, they are robbing you of your wealth. When we have inflation and they keep on saying this 2% target, which mind you, 2% used to be the absolute worst. They did not want to go over 2%. And now it's like, okay, you know, we can run a little bit hot. I mean, soon 2% is going to be the floor and they're just going to spring right off of it, right? So at any rate, when they say inflation, and I'm going to do a much more in-depth video about this also, but it's basically robbing you of your wealth. Why? Because every single dollar that they print devalues the dollar that you currently have. And the person who gets that dollar first is actually the one who really benefits from it because they get to use it out into the economy before prices actually rise. So when you have more money just kind of being poured into this economy, it's going to erode your wealth, okay? That coupled with the fact that they said they're not going to be raising interest rates, okay? back in the day, and I remember this, okay, I'm not that old, but I do remember having like at least a 5% or a 7% interest rate in your savings. That is literally unheard of. People used to be able to live off of their savings, okay, off of their interest income. You can't live. You're gonna be really hungry, okay, if you try to live off of that money, okay? It's literally, it doesn't make any sense. And let me tell you what, they're telling you to save 3 to 6 months of expenses, but what happens within, I think, just 3 weeks of us going into this whole pandemic? All these corporations get a whole bunch of aid all of a sudden. Where's their 3 to 6 months of savings? I don't see it. And what do you get once you come up to a little bit of a crunch? You get a $1,200 check that been evaporated, and good luck, you could file for bankruptcy, all right? Which leaves you definitely screwed. So it's hard for me to believe them saying that they want to help us, and we have these presidential candidates and they're just having the best interest in heart for us, but they're not even exposing us to what's really going on in the world, right? They're not telling you, hey, you probably should think about other investments because your savings is getting eroded. No, they can't do that. That's definitely suicide, basically, right? So we literally had the worst GDP number in history, okay? A negative 32%, literally unheard of. Mind you, that included the $600 a week for every person who was unemployed and was able to get into their unemployment, right? It included that. It also included the $1,200 check. So what's going to happen in this quarter when we don't have those actual stimulus packages, right? Maybe they will come up with another stimulus package. I do think they are going to have to. And hopefully when they come back from their vacation, they're all refreshed and ready to actually, come together as adults. But we would need some sort of stimulus, because if we don't have that stimulus, the number could be even worse. We had stimulus and it was still terrible. And while we're talking government stimulus, did you know that the government actually contributes 25% of income for certain people? That's crazy, okay? Imagine if 25% of your income was dependent on somebody else. The savings rate at one point was 32%, but that was literally because of the stimulus check. That number has now dropped below 20%. So imagine if people depend on the government and then the government's like, never mind, right? Now you're literally not even having enough money to take care of yourself because you don't even save 25% of your income. So we've really gotten ourselves into a situation where we're becoming more and more dependent on the government. And I think in general, not even just the government, you should not depend on anybody. Why do people put the government on some sort of pedestal? It's like, on an everyday basis, they'll tell you, don't depend on your mother, don't depend on your father, like you should be independent. But then they're totally fine with you going on welfare, getting Medicare, getting Medicaid, whatever. In general, it doesn't matter if it's the government or not. We have to work on being self-sufficient, because at any moment, anybody could decide, listen, forget you, never mind. And you don't want to be in that position where you actually need that money, but we're moving more and more towards that. People want stimulus, okay? I think it was something like 70% of people said they need another stimulus package. So I think we're getting into some really, really weird times where we're becoming more independent on the government. And, once you depend on somebody for money, that's a lot of power they have over you, because, of course, money is what we run on right now. And, of course, I don't want to sound insensitive, because I know for some people who lost their job, they absolutely need this money. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that government intervention is actually helpful? I'm more along the opinions of, at this moment in time, we are actually going to have to get that, right? If we want to kind of get out of this recession on paper, we need people to start spending money. So I think that we've digged ourselves into a hole that we can't really get out of, and it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But in a perfect world, people should really work on being self-sufficient. The government should just be there as an aid, as a guide, to kind of make sure we stay to the Constitution, not as a crutch. We've put so much power in government, and that's why we see what we have going on today. It's really bizarre. I have a really interesting video coming out talking about the political campaigns and kind of like really debunking what they're saying they're going to do for us. Because when you look at the numbers, it's definitely crazy. So please make sure you are subscribed, because that's going to be a very good video. I'm doing a lot of research on that, and that should be coming out very soon. But in general, I just think it's really poor to just think that money is going to solve the problem. If the underlying cause of the issue is not solved, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the issue, right? You can give somebody $2,500. You can give somebody $5,000. Eventually it's going to dry up, because we do not have that kind of mentality that really tells us to prepare, invest, take care of yourself. No, it's all gimme, gimme, gimme. And I'm not talking about everybody. Obviously, this is a huge generalization, but I do feel like we need to work on being more self-sufficient, because I don't want to run into a situation where we become so heavily reliant on the government that they just control your whole livelihood. So if you are watching this, definitely make sure that you are putting some stuff aside. If you have extra, to actually invest, consider watching some of my videos on investing. I'll put my playlist up here because I have a playlist just for investing. So definitely check that out and kind of see what your options are, because I don't know. I like, if you've been watching my channel from an OG, like from 2019, I was talking about the recession way before all this stuff happened, because it was bound to happen. Okay, it's just kind of convenient that it kind of gets all swept under the rug of coronavirus. But trust me, these problems were already in the system. This just really brought everything to surface in front of everybody's face. But I've been doing a lot of research on these things, on this economy. It is very, very weird what's going on, and I want all of us to be prepared. So definitely make sure you are watching my videos. Make sure you're saving, make sure you're investing when you can, and make sure you are subscribed. Hello. But that will do it. If you like this video, then please like this video and share it with your friends. It's very important that we get this message out there. Do not hold all this good information and not share it. I don't care if people think you're crazy. Let them know. And if anything else going on, you know what to do. Go ahead and binge watch me. And until next time, keep your money up.